Hello, drawers. This is another one of my just in case backup videos. And in this video, I'm going to share a little bit more about the different projects and modules, if you will, we're going to be working on this semester. So let me get this lined up and then away we go. So hopefully if Zoom worked in our advantage, then we spent a little bit of time today discussing what drawing is and coming up with the definition. Because surely we could look at this image by Leonardo da Vinci, right? And call this a drawing. It's on paper, it's made with a chalk, so a medium we're familiar with, and it's drawn well, right? And sometimes that becomes one of the issues. We put this idea of a good drawing into the category of what is or isn't drawing. So it becomes then questions, and it's interesting for us to think about, to open it up and consider what drawing is and what drawing has been and maybe could be. Is this a drawing? Why not? The artist has made a mark and used a pigment, and it certainly lasted to convey an expression. And what about these pieces by Matisse? So these were some of Matisse's paper cuts that he made later in his life, where he actually hand cut pieces of paper. Is it drawing? I certainly think so. Just a different type of mark making and an expression. So just some things to think about, and hopefully we've had a really great conversation today working through and defining what drawing is. So for this semester, we're going to work through a couple of different, what I refer to as modules or units. The first unit, we're actually going to work through an assignment that I'll introduce to you pretty thoroughly on Thursday. That is in a lot of ways about creating meaning and finding our artistic style through the process of looking at and referring and being influenced by other artists. So this is the artist Enrico Chagoya. Chagoya is originally from Mexico City, actually. And a lot of his work contrasts popular icons from American culture with images and ideas from traditional cultures of Mexico. So we see here in his piece, Superman with the pilgrim hat, contrasted with the Aztec creature, contrasted with the Jetsons in the background. So a lot of his work is about, that question of identity and meaning as someone who is from a place that was colonized and what that impact is in the long and the short term. So that's the first unit that we'll be working through, and we'll really talk about that in depth on Thursday. The second unit, we will play with transparency. So instead of drawing on an opaque surface, what happens when you are actually drawing on a surface that is translucent and you can actually build layers into the work? So if I zoom in a little bit, we could think about that. What happens when you can draw on the front and the back of the same sheet of paper and we can see both views, or you can put other drawings underneath? And I apologize, there's a helicopter overhead. Ah, the beauty of Zoom. So anyway, helicopters or no helicopters, that is our second kind of unit, playing around with transparency and drawing on and layering vellum. After that, we're going to play around with drawing on fabric, which can be a lot of fun to consider, because fabric, of course, as in this example, does not have to be on a flat surface, right? So fabric can become a flag, as in this example from an artist who was recently in residence at the Art Museum here in Salzburg, where she drew a prehistoric tool onto a piece of fabric and then actually put that up the flagpole. But we could also work with found fabrics and shaped fabrics to give another layer of meaning to the work of drawing on fabric. It could be sewn, it could be cut. Anything that you could do with fabric, you could do with before or after you draw on it. So in the case of Travis Somerville's work, he's actually drawing on found fabric. In this case, these were bags that were used by cotton pickers. And then he's actually drawn portraits of individuals on them. So that's the second unit, or third unit, excuse me, drawing on fabric. After that, we're going to really get crazy, and towards the end of the semester, have a lot of fun. We're actually going to make our own drawing tools. So you're used to drawing with pencils, pens, markers, charcoal, and things of that nature. But what happens if you create your own? So this is where you can start already collecting some sort of items to think about what would happen if you drew with bubble wrap, for example, or with one of those metallic bows from a Christmas present. And maybe a good example of thinking of this in kind of a different way is the work of Chuck Close. This piece, if I zoom in, is actually all made with Close's fingerprint. So what kind of objects are around you that you could use as a mark making or drawing tool that you traditionally wouldn't? And what sort of approaches could you make once you get out of that comfort zone of drawing with materials and tools you know of? And then lastly, we're going to make some of our own drawing ink. And this can be as simple as drawing with old coffee or tea, or using found items, as we can see in this little image from the Toronto Ink Company, that they're known for doing urban foraging and finding berries, rusted nails, acorn caps, things like that, that they combine together to make their ink. So we're going to get creative and have fun. Maybe even someone will take it this far and create ink out of something that's detrimental to the environment. So in this case, and there's actually some great information online about this. This is ink that is made from the particulates that diesel engines put into the air. So they have actually found a way to collect those off the fuel pipes of a car and make an ink out of it. So I'm going to stop my share. So that's just a little bit of a teaser. Since you're in an art class, it's good to look at artwork for inspiration, but just a little teaser on the things that we're going to go over this summer. Again, the first unit, what I call the remix unit, we'll go over in depth on Thursday. Then from there, we'll play around with transparency and actually draw on a fairly translucent material. Then we're going to draw on fabric. We can take in consideration the qualities of fabric as something that is not rigid or with a fabric that can be found. And then we'll play around with making our own drawing tools and inks. So I hope you're excited. I know it's going to be a great semester. So now you can start thinking of what awesome things you're going to do. Bubble wrap drawing, anyone?